Everyone, I'm here today taking a look at the new Jurassic Park JP30 real feel T-Rex from Mattel, which is based on the original Kenner T-Rex from 1993, 30 years ago. I'll quickly go over the articulation. You've got the legs that move forward and backwards at the back there, as well as swiveling out to the sides. There's a swivel at the ankle as well. Breaks up the sculpt, so it always looks weird to me, but that's there, so you can move them. Pretty standard kind of articulation you get on these T-Rexes. The little arms at the front go all the way around, forward and backwards, and out to the sides, like that. And there's some really nice articulation in the mouth, because it's not attached to an action feature. So you've got two swivels at the jaw, one on the base of the skull there, so the top half of the mouth will go up, and then one at the jaw, so the bottom half of the mouth will go down there. So you've got kind of the double articulation there, and you can pose it however you want because it's not attached to an action feature like the mouth normally is on these toys. So I really like that you can just pose it how you like. So for a closer look there, you see, you can just have the mouth opening at the bottom there, or you can kind of have it stretched open like that, all the way open. Opens quite wide there. So I really like the range of movement in the jaw. The tail does move, but it won't hold in any position, but you can kind of flick it if you wanted to, like that. But because of the rubber effect of the real feel, it stops the tail from being able to stay in any position, but it does move. And that leads to the main kind of feature of this toy, and that's the real feel dinosaur skin, the rubbery feel. And this is a callback to that original T-Rex from 1993, because that had the real feel as well. Quite a few of the bigger dinosaurs in the Kenner line did. And it's not something that I desperately want in any of the newer toys, but for this particular T-Rex, because I'm so nostalgic for it, I do like that this has the rubbery real feel skin. You can see it's kind of soft there. There is a hard plastic underneath. Almost feels like there's a skeleton underneath, like you can feel the ribs there, but then it's more hollow there, and there's a reason that it's more hollow in the stomach, which I'll show you in a second. So another action feature with this dinosaur is that it will swallow figures. So you open the mouth up, get your figure, and basically just shove it in there, and it swallows the figure. And the figure goes down into the stomach, and there is a slit in the bottom of the stomach which will open up, that you're supposed to pull the figure out of. Now I'm not going to do this because it's not a particularly big hole, and I feel like stretching that open to pull the figure out is going to end up ripping it and damaging it over time. I think we're going to find a lot of these start to rip if you're not careful. So, and of course it is designed to be play with, but for me personally as a collector, I'm just going to try and get the figure back out the mouth and not risk ripping that rubber. But the funny thing with that action feature is that that's not actually from the original Jurassic Park T-Rex toy. That's from the Lost World Bull T-Rex toy, and I'll show you this later on. There are some sound effects with this as well. I'll just open the mouth to make it look more authentic. You press at the top, just above where his hips are, basically, there's a button under the real feel skin, under the rubber. I actually really like how the sculpt looks on the rubber, and it is reminiscent of the original, and I'll compare them in a minute. See, the front nails aren't painted, which is actually accurate to the original. The front nails on the arms weren't painted on that either. You see the underside has a kind of yellow paint job, and then it fades to the main body, which is a reddy orange colour, and then there are these kind of brown spots and stripes. And then on the thigh here, there's like a door that opens up to reveal the app code. I'm not really keen on this, or when it slides out the top, because it makes it look like the dinosaur's a robot with like a computer console in it. I thought it was much better when the app code was on the foot, at the bottom of the foot out of the way. For comparison, here it is next to a regular T-Rex from the Mattel line, which is far more accurate to how the T-Rex looks in the movie. But I always like to think of this original Kenner Rex as its own T-Rex now. I like to call it Big Red. I don't think of it as the T-Rex from the first movie, even though that's what it was originally designed to be. But we've got T-Rexes that are far more accurate to that film, so I think that Big Red has his own identity now. They're about the same sort of size. From the top, Red's maybe slightly longer in the tail. Only a little bit. I do love the sculpt on this new one. It looks slimmer and more streamlined. Like you can see more angles in the skin on the back, rather than this one, which is a rounder, slightly thicker looking T-Rex. But I like that they're different like that. You don't want them all to look exactly the same. And maybe part of the reason why I love this new sculpt so much is because it is very reminiscent of that original Kenner T-Rex, which I'll show you in a minute. And here he is with the original Kenner T-Rex that it's based on. The Kenner T-Rex is a lot bigger. It can be difficult to balance though. It's got quite small feet and is back heavy, so it tends to kind of lean backwards because of the weight of the tail. See, they've both got that yellowy green underbelly. The new one's a bit brighter all over actually, but one thing the new one doesn't have is the dark wash on the legs. The original T-Rex, you can see it's almost black going down the legs, whereas the new one doesn't have that paint app. I don't know if it's because mine's faded because it's 30 years old, or if the new one is just brighter. But you can see the red on the original is a lot more muted and actually looks kind of more natural than the new one, which is quite bright. Though I do like the new one still. And if you didn't have the original one to compare, you would think this was accurate to it. It's only putting them side by side, you notice how duller the colour tone of the original one is. But you can see all those brown stripes and spots like that are on the new one. The new one isn't exactly the same, but it looks really good. It's taken the basic concept of that original one and done something, you know, slightly more unique with it. But it is a nice homage, but maybe a little bit more kind of realistic looking with the pattern. They do actually look really nice together. Like if you've got both of them and pair them up on the shelf or out like this, I think they look like they could be a mating pair or something. Bit like the bull and the buck T-Rex from the Lost World. Here is that original Lost World bull T-Rex, and I'll show you what I mean about the stomach, because this dinosaur has the same action figure of putting a figure in the mouth, it swallows it, and then there's a hole in the bottom there where it can pull the human out. But you can see over time it kind of warps and gets a bit bent. It hasn't ripped or anything on this one, but it kind of squidges in and gets all bendy, so that's why I don't really want to fiddle around too much with that hole on the bottom of the new one there. But it's strange that they've kind of amalgamated the original Kenner and the second big Kenner T-Rexes together with the action features. I do love that bull T-Rex though. I mean, that is an awesome design. I love the paint job on it. You don't get that kind of paint job really on the Mattel T-Rexes, but it's really gorgeous. I hope they do give us some Lost World T-Rexes. I know they gave us one a couple of years ago, but it wasn't really that good. It was just a repaint of an existing one. I'd like some original moulds. Maybe they could do them in real feel as well, like this JP30 T-Rex. If I just bring in this original T-Rex, the action feature on this is you press the rib cage and it roars, but it's not an accurate roar to the film. But that also makes the mouth open, and then if you stomp it on the ground, it makes the stomping noise, which is pretty cool. I have so much nostalgia for that original T-Rex. It was the first big Jurassic Park T-Rex toy I ever got for Christmas one year. And I pretty much got the whole Jurassic Park toy line for Christmas that year. The Command Compound playset, all the dinosaurs, the humans, everything. I think I got Jurassic Park on VHS that Christmas as well, so it was a very Jurassic heavy Christmas for me. And I just loved that T-Rex, and I still do to this day think it's a really good T-Rex toy. Yeah, it's not completely accurate to the film, but now we've had loads of accurate T-Rexes to the movie. I think it's nice having one that's a bit different with the red and the green underbelly. It's got a really unique look to it. And I think this new updated Mattel version's great. It's probably my favourite T-Rex they've made. And like, I know a lot of that's because of my nostalgia, but I just think it looks great. And I love the sculpt on it. A very defined sculpt, which I didn't think would look as good on rubber as it does on harder plastic, but actually the sculpting works fantastic on it. Hopefully we won't have to wait till the 30th anniversary of The Lost World before we get the buck and the doe T-Rexes, or the bull and the thrasher as they were called in the original Kenner line. So it'd be great if they did them with this real feel, kind of retro effect, and packaging as well, because the Lost World toys had some great packaging. And here's the packaging, which is very heavily inspired by the original Kenner packaging. And I always love that design with the red and the orange sunset in the background with the jungle. It's got this weird spotting effect though, which is like 1980s comic books that had really cheap ink and colour printing. I don't know why they've done that. I don't recall the original packaging having that kind of spotty design. I'm not very keen on it. I don't like it in old comics and I don't like it here. But maybe the original packaging was dotted with the ink like that and I just don't remember it. But it's got the 93 Classic in the corner there, as well as the original Jurassic Park logo down here, which is really cool. And Tyrannosaurus Rex written in the same font that they used to use on the old Kenner packaging at the bottom there as well. And then on the back here, it actually shows some other toys that are available. We've got Ian Malcolm, Alan Grant in dinosaur packs that I really want to get, but they don't tend to sell the human figures in the UK, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get hold of them, unfortunately. There's also a nice vehicle there. I'm not sure if that vehicle's based on anything that's appeared in the movies, maybe in The Lost World. It definitely wasn't in the first Jurassic Park, I don't think, but it might be based on an old toy from the original Kenner line from the second or third waves. There's a very unique looking Jeep there, looks kind of cool, so I wouldn't mind getting hold of that as well. But I haven't seen any sign of any of these being released in the UK yet. You never really know over here what's going to be released and what isn't. And then we've got this photograph of the T-Rex, which has been photoshopped onto a jungle background, which is cool in concept, but the picture of the T-Rex is actually quite blurry, and the Photoshop job, it looks kind of cheap. I mean, considering this is Mattel Jurassic Park packaging, you'd have thought they'd have put a bit more effort in to making it look better than that. I mean, like I say, I like the concept of it. It looks kind of cool at first glance, but once you actually look at it, it's all a bit blurry and very obviously photoshopped, and it almost looks like the T-Rex is hovering over the ground there as well. They really haven't put much effort into that. Now for comparison, I actually do have the back of the original T-Rex packaging. I didn't keep the whole box, but when I was a kid, I just loved this photo of the T-Rex on the back where they'd created a diorama of like pot plants in the background and some of the figures standing around it. And it's one of the things that inspired me actually to take my toys out and photograph and film in the outdoors. But I wish they'd done something like this. I know it would have taken a bit more effort, but I don't know if it's that much more effort, is it, to just stand the toy up with some other figures and take a photograph rather than it all being photoshopped rather cheaply on the computer. But this looks so cool. I mean, look at that. I just love this diorama piece, and they did this on a lot of the old Jurassic Park and Jurassic World Kenner packaging. It really helped to sell the toys and make me want to collect them all. So there are the other toys that are being advertised. Very Kenner looking human figures there with the kind of glider pack. That's the sort of thing the original toys came with. And the capture gear on the little baby dinosaur there. There's Alan Grant with a Gallimimus and a grapple gun. Dilophosaurus with Ian Malcolm there. So I definitely want to try and get hold of these if I can. Thanks for watching everybody, and I'll catch you again soon.